Well, many thanks for staying with us. If you've just joined us, this is Global Morning here on Global Television, where we bring to you the front pages of the newspaper and topical discussions for your listening and viewing pleasure. Today on the program, we have Prof in the house as we would be discussing. We've had recent tanker explosions in the part of in Nigeria. We've had incidences of explosions, tanker falling, and then people coming to scoop fuel, and then explosions here and there. The most recent that would be particularly in the Niger State axis. Prof will be helping us dissect and also give his perspective on these recent incidences. Many thanks for joining us on the program, Prof.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning. Can we look at over the years, even before now, we've had tanker explosions. Most recently, people have attributed the desperation to go scoop fuel when we have falling tankers along roadsides to hardship. And we've had cases where people say, even before the economic meltdown and the hardship, we've had people also go scoop fuel even when we have falling tankers across the roadsides. And it's not necessarily caused by hardship. What would be your take? What do you think is the reason for, some of these actions?
Well, I would say three things are militating against us. One, service delivering insincerity on the part of the drivers, then greed on the other part. But let me start with the takings from the depots where these products have been dispelled. We have not checked some of the models of this. A tanker normally is supposed to be changed every 5 years. That is the law. The rule says that a tank is just like a pipe that is taking water to the end source. You have to change it every 5 years. A tanker that is carrying product is also supposed to be changed every 5 years. Some of these tankers has been there for 20, 30 years. Nobody has changed them. And they are exposed to rust. They are exposed to wears and tears. And nobody is even checking those elements of it. That is one. And modern technology again has brought it to a notice where tankers are supposed to have salients. We don't have any tanker that is moving products in Nigeria that has salients. So modern technology is not even applied to say, okay, these tankers have salients. Some of countries have upgraded to, if not for now, I cannot tell, but Iraq normally has the automatic salient in their tankers when moving products. But let's say even if we can't get automatic salient, we are supposed to by now have salient in every of our tankers. But salient we don't have. So we are not apprehending to the first principle, which is supposed to be changing these tankers every 5 years. Then if we can't get that, we don't even have a salient. So these are what we are supposed to take cognizance of when moving product from the depot to the service stations. That is one part. The second part is that most of these tankers move from Lagos, Warri, Port Harcourt, and some other port like Calabar, Cocoa, and the rest, moving towards other service stations. The drivers are so notorious that at every step point, like Ore, Aviele, Lokoja or so, they stop, sell this product. At a point, they get to the bareless minimum, and they cannot deliver to the service point and make sure they have an accident on the road, so that it will be like we had an accident. So who bear the loss? Mostly the loss is being incurred by the product buyer or purchaser. In doing this, people will go and scoop the fuel. Fuel scooping for now is as a result of poverty and hunger, whether we agree to it or not, and the high cost of fuel. So the belief is that, okay, if I have 50 liters, for example, that has given me about 50,000 naira. So it has actually given them that habit of, if I scoop just 50 liters, I have some change on me, and that will take me a long way if there is anything. But can we actually stop these vices? Yes. It can be stopped by making sure that there are salient in our tankers. The tankers apprehend to the laws of 5 years exchange and the rest. So who are the monitoring team who make sure these are being applied or implemented? So those are the things that we are supposed to look at. Who implement this?
That would be my next question. The regulations. What are some of these safety regulations? How are we supposed to ensure that the drivers and owners of these tankers adhere to safety regulations?
The truth is that when most of my discussions, I used to say that we don't have industrial security here. Because if we have trained our personnel on industrial security, then we have a monitoring system who would also monitor and evaluate this system. But we don't have that because we are not trained. Even transportation security will have been able to assist in one way or the other, but are we trained on transportation security? What we are trained on transportation security is the elements we see in Federal Road Safety Commission. And Federal Road Safety Commission are not trained on some tactical areas on transportation security. So the strategies they apply is what they know of. But Federal Road Safety will have improved their system now wider than where they are, not narrowing it down. They will have be able to know what the transportation system is and be able to build a strategy to monitor and evaluate, make an evaluation of what we are having today. But you can't give what you don't have. And that will have widened their revenue base. But the revenue base is streamlined to some certain things where they just asked you of your driving license, you are using phone while driving, and those minor things. Whereas the bigger picture where they will have made most of the revenues are not looked into or take cognizance of. So when I say that the Nigerian security system can generate about 150 trillion, people ask me a lot of questions. But it's not an issue of questions, it's an issue of implementation. Because we have a lot of gaps that are not actually being looked into.
When you talk about implementation, how can we, better facilitate implementation of some of these policies or some of these solutions? private individuals, governments, relevant stakeholders, how can they come together to ensure that we achieve just one goal, this one goal of safety?
When the policy framework is not there, when the laws are not there, there is little or nothing you can do. We have a National Assembly that is shaking because there are no professionals, shaking because people who are there are just, I am a politician, shaking because they don't engage people that has in-depth knowledge of some certain areas, shaking because there is a fiat that if I bring in this person, my office will be shaken. So I don't need people who have the expertise. That is what is wrong with our system. So when the expertise are not there, then you should not expect a roasted plantain from nothing. The charcoal and everything is supposed to be there, but when it is not there, it is not a roasted plantain. So these are the things that are wrong with our system. Specialists, specialization, expertise are not taken into cognizance at all.
When we talk about safety, particularly also for commuters, commuters, drivers, and also people in that vicinity where we have falling tankers. Whenever there's a falling tanker like this, you see people in their numbers, like you rightly attributed to hardship and inflation. But the safety of these people also matters. How do we better communicate to people that once there's a fallen tanker like this, you need to protect yourself first. You need to avoid such area if possible, move away from those places, so that, because in more cases than we've seen people who just got burnt as a result of this explosion from scooping fuel.
Well, there is no amount of enlightenment or education you are going to give somebody that is hungry. The question is, what is supposed by rule, what is the response time to emergency? The response period for emergency is supposed to be 5 to 15 minutes. When a response time to an emergency now becomes hours, then there is a gap period for people to intrude. And that intrusion is what we are getting to the scope of time. There is no tanker that has fall immediately and fuel is spilling and people just come into scope. There is a time frame in which these people has not seen anything happening around that tank before they come to school. So if we apply the security measures that says emergency period is 5 to 15 minutes, and there are detailed men on ground, they won't scoop the fuel. They won't even go near there. But when emergency response period is more than that period, elapsing 2 hours, then anything can happen, and you don't have to blame anybody for it. We have these lapses, security lapses, and it is because of lack of knowledge of it. So when you see the establishing system, you find out that some state has state emergency agencies. We have NEMAC, which is the National Emergency Management Agency, and you see that there is no response. They are not active. Nobody even is aware of them at all. So most of these agencies are just there. Then the other security agencies, response time is not there too. They are not proactive, because all they will tell you today is that the police, for example, may not even have fuel in their vehicles. sometimes you report incidents and there is no active, proactive measures being taken for those incidents to be averted. So these are the things that are lacking. But when you have gaps where I normally advocate for the security generating their revenue, then you cannot know how to hold them responsible. But we are not holding them responsible. We can't hold them accountable. We can't hold them responsible because of the way they are managing and the administration and management of security in this country. So the administration is faulty, no adequate policy, no laws. So everybody play the cards the way they want to play it.
But in all of this, knowing that we lack emergency response, active emergency response in terms of emergency and all of that, how the question should be, how do we begin to improve our system? What areas do we need to look at so that, because they say if you continue to repeat a particular thing, it means that you can be likened to a fool. And over time, we have seen this happen again and again and again. Tanker explosion, tanker, a falling tanker, and before you know it, commuters or people around that community go to skip fuel and they are burnt, and then it repeats. It's more like a consistent thing. So how do we begin to improve our emergency response so that there's never a reoccurrence?
That is what I was saying. I said it before that if we have been educated on transportation security, for example, let's leave industrial security part of it. We have been able to monitor and evaluate our system. This evaluation goes with monitoring and surveillance. When a vehicle takes off from the depot and is going to Sokoto, for example, how did you monitor this vehicle from the depot to Sokoto? There is no monitoring system. Let's take it that we have a track of most of these vehicles. This will not happen. If we are also upholding to standards, then it will not happen, because you know that this tanker is in use for over 5 years. It is either it goes back and refurbished, recalibrated, recensored, and before it is brought back to the mainstream. But when this is not taking place, and you are using the same tanker for the next 10, 15, 20 years, there is already rust in it. What has these people done before they are loading these tankers? That is one. Two, do these tankers have sealants? Because a tanker that has sealant, no matter how it falls, the oil will not spill. That product has to spill before people will scoop. So if a tanker that has a sealant means that there will be no spillage. And if there is no spillage, what will you scoop? The only thing is a rescue team coming to rescue the tanker, put it on another body, and move to the destination. So there are so many ways we have to apply this and make sure that, so the engineering, the technology should be applied. They are supposed to know what to do, because in so many major countries, you don't hear of space after tankers has collapsed because there are sealants. And in some bodies, Modern technology has also bring about automatic sealant system. So if the automatic sealant system means that there is no way that 1 liter of product will spill after a tanker has collapsed, unless something has happened. Maybe there was implant of retrovirus and encountering system along the route. Without that, we are not supposed to be experiencing what we experience these days.
No, rightly put, Prof. But I'm sure that there are other factors we can attribute to falling tankers aside from low maintenance of these tankers, rusted tankers and all of that. One of them would be our road infrastructure.
Yes, I agree with you that the roads are seriously in the state of repairs. But most of these tankers that collapse or have accidents on the way, if you check very well, they don't take place in those rough edges. I'll give you an example. The one that take place in Cuba, around Cuba, the Cuba road. You cannot say that road is in state of disrepair. So, yes, the roads are bad. But do we even have any legal framework that when roads are bad, we are subject the contractors to alternative routes? No. The contractors never provide alternative routes, which is against engineering concept and principles. But we are not going there now because it's another long journey if we start going into the government providing, the contractors providing alternative routes, because it is another way for them to start giving us more base on we are providing alternative routes for us to do our construction work, because there is nowhere in the world where you do construction work and that is the same route that people follow. Sometimes I see them put on asphalt and vehicles are moving on the asphalt without looking at the porosity of the roads and the effect of what you are doing, because wear and tears can start immediately. But I don't know the kind of engineering methodology we are using here, so I really most of the time look at it critically, that an asphalt can be passable. That passable is supposed to be a word between 48 hours, not immediately. If we are going to, but yeah, we don't even have the engineering rules, we don't even have the engineering laws. They are not implemented if anyone is available. So we bring up not acts that suit our system, but we just bring up acts that affect our people. We are quick to sanitize, not sensitizing. By the time we change the method into sensitizing, not sanitizing, it will do us a lot of good.
Sensitizing and not sanitizing. I like that line. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, the conversation continues. Please stay with us.
Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews, latest news with experts on key global issues,
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Well, many thanks for staying with us. It's still Global Morning here on Global Television, and we have been speaking with Professor Ibrahim, who has been helping us make better sense of the recent falling tankers and explosions in the country. Prof, many thanks for joining us and for your contributions so far. But I want us to look at, having looked at, some of the causes and possible measures to mitigate some of the effects. How about the environmental factor of these falling tankers? There's to an extent an environmental possible hazards and all of that. So some of these spillages.
Well, environmental degradation will comes in because the issue of spill has to do with the environment. So the moment it strike into fire outbreak, it has effect on our ecosystem and also the soil. So when you go very well, you find out that what extent has that affect the soil and the ecosystem, because there is pollution and there is effect on our soil. Most of the time, after the spill and the fire outbreak, nobody goes there to take any test on the soil. Nobody goes there to treat the soil. But we forget about soil treatment, we forget about everything that has happened. What we care is the people are buried and everybody move on. Even when going into the burials, I don't think most of the doctors goes to do carry out some autopsies, tests and the rest as it's applied to the medical institutions and carry out a study on the bodies before they bury them. Then we also don't even do anything about the soil and how to improve on the soil. So we have a lot of things that keep us lacking behind because we are only looking at one atom, we are not looking at the other atoms. So what is done is the tanker is there. Sometimes they don't even remove it again. Sometimes they come to evacuate it. Then we also bury the people If it affects life, we bury the people that it affected, and that is all. Game over. So what that has done to our ecosystem, the pollution, everything is not managed. The soil is not managed, or everybody is business as usual, and you just go on, which is not too good for our system as a nation, as a civilized people. And there are no rules guiding this. Who has done this, who has done that? There's no penalty, there is nothing incurred, no investigative system, nothing. So it is a rule of we sympathize with you, and the sympathy ends there.
And then just move on.
But that also has to do with our laws, because when there are no laws, there are no guidance, there is no rules for you to play. So we have this tactically, and I don't know how they are taking it, because they are the people managing. I'm talking of the executives and the legislators. Maybe because it has not affected one of them, because this Nigeria system is a system where it's only when it affects you or affects somebody close to you that something is done about it, or they mitigate against it the next time. But we are not praying that it shall affect them, but it's all, if it affects them, I think they will want to find a solution to it.
Okay, we don't pray for such recurrence, but like you said, we hope that they find solutions to it. But talking about solutions, how do you think that we can, mitigate some of the risk, maybe reduce the environmental risk that is associated with tanker explosions?
Well, from the first concept, it has to do with the truck. If the trucks are serviceable, if the trucks are installed with sealants, I think that would be one of the first aspects. If we have good road networks, if we also have the drivers well trained, because most of the drivers are not well trained. If you look at some of the drivers, they are immatured. Some of them are very young for what they are doing. Some of them are under the influence of alcohol. Some of them are under the influence of drugs, whatever type of drugs. And some of them experience wears out when driving, because at every regular interval where they stop, they have free women. So by the time they come back to the trucks, they are already experiencing wears and tears, or experiencing wears in their body. So they can even snap off, slip off when driving. So we have to actually checkmate these people, build them, give them a new orientation, fine-tune their service system, and also fine-tune their delivery system. By the time we engage in that, I think we'll have reduction in whatever thing that is happening to us.
And then as regards the soil, maybe solutions for those soils?
Yeah, it is supposed to be an active rule that when there is an explosion, they should go back and have a soil test, excavate the place, build it back into normal standard, and allow it to be. But when such things happen, and we just, even the pollution, because the pollution also affects the people around that place. What have you done? Suppose it goes into diseases that will arise because of the pollutions. There is a time in Port Harcourt where we were having slums everywhere, as if it is, and people were affected. What did they do? They did not do anything about it. It has happened in Port Harcourt, it has happened in Bayelsa, it has happened in Delta, it has happened in most states. So what have the authority done? They have done nothing about it. They didn't even understudy it to know what is the cause. If you know the incident that happens in Mina and how many people died, you should know that there was a pollution. I wonder how the people around that vicinity are actually living now, because I know there must be an outbreak. So what will happen if there is an outbreak? What emergency measures have they taken? Which medical team has attended to those people in that vicinity? Nobody. So we have a lot to think of when we are dealing with human, because they are not beasts. They are human like us, floating with blood and water. So if we look at them, what have we done? Is it that we don't know what to do, or we don't want to do the right thing? Because doing the right thing is the best approach to follow.
Rightly said, doing the right thing is the best approach to follow. But in summary, I'm just going to ask you this last question, since we're talking about tackling the menace. In your own, in your own words, just outrightly pinpoint how we can tackle or put an end. Maybe the government, can put an end to this menace.
First of all, we have to start a process where we monitor the trucks from the delivery point to the service point. If we can't do this, then we should also employ a system where there is a surveillance system that will take care of those processes. Then there is this issue of training and retraining. We are not training anybody. All we have here is, I have a driving license and I can drive. No other thing do I need from the service. Whereas there are driving models that are changing every day. The driving model of 1970s is not the driving models of today. So what is the progression period from 1960 to today in the driving system? We don't apply latest driving systems, and we don't include them into our system. That is the reason why, if you are driving here and you go to US or you go to other countries, they will ask you to go back to obtain another driving license. And it's supposed to be an international distance. So it's just like, so can you tell me, because I had a degree here, I will now go back to another country to say you must have a degree in our country before we engage you? That is not true. But in the driving, because we are not following the driving models, you find out that you are a driver here and you go to other countries and they will ask you must go for more training for you to get a driving license in the other country. So you asked why. You may ask why, but the truth is that we have not upgraded any. We don't even have any driving models in Nigeria. Whether the road safety are here, whether the VIOs are here, we still tell them the same thing, and they know the truth that we don't have any driving models here. We are still using and obsolete driving models. Yeah. So we have to change. Because when you are looking for driving models, you have driving models 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to driving models 8. But we don't even have even a single one here. So as far as you can enter a car, start the car and move the car, that is, you are entitled to a driving license. That is not driving models. So we have a long way to go where practically and it is actually affecting our system.
Well, many thanks for your contributions on the program, Prof. We really appreciate you taking out time to speak on this topic of tackling the menace of tanker explosions in Nigeria. If you've just joined us, well, we have been talking with Professor Ibrahim Abuka, who is our in-house analyst, helping us make better sense of the menace of falling tankers and explosions in this part of the country. Well, to say you missed, you can always go back and follow us across all social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen to have a rewatch of this program. Well, this is where we draw the curtains today. From myself, Queen Agaba, and my co-host, we Agbomofwebe, we say have a beautiful day ahead. See you again.